48% of LGBTQ Latino youth have seriously considered suicide in the last year. All right, well, we're back to another episode of the JK But Gay Show. Thank you all for joining us. And this week, last week we talked a lot about body image and how it affects us. Mm-hmm. But this week we're going to talk about how that, turns into other things in life. And we're specifically talking about mental health, which affects everybody in both the Latino community and the LGBTQ community. And we want to just sort of caveat this before we start by saying that we're speaking specifically about our experiences. We know that everybody has their own sort of unique experiences. And even in the disorders or things that we're dealing with on our own, they manifest itself in a way that's unique to us. And so that's what we're talking about. So are you excited to have these conversations?
I am. It's a little bit daunting.
It is.
Just because I and it'll come out for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm very private about this part of my life of like what I deal with. Sometimes on a daily basis. But I'm more excited at the opportunity to do this.
Yeah.
Like I'm so excited that y'all are actually watching, and like I'm hopeful that, or listening, I should say that too, obviously, but I'm hopeful that we can help somebody.
Yeah.
Like even just one person, like that's gonna like, I feel like I say that often, like that will literally.
That's your goal. That's your biggest goal.
Literally what I want to do.
That's your biggest goal. And I thought we would start,
So rewarding.
last episode we started with stats, and I wanted to start with another one this week, just to kind of help ground us and so that everybody understands the way that mental health affects certain communities over others. And, I found a stat from the Trevor Project who does, just phenomenal work that I thought was fascinating. It took me aback, but the stat was basically that 48% of LGBTQ Latino youth have seriously considered suicide in the last year. That it breaks my heart when I hear that stat. And it's, even the last time when we talked about the stats, we talked about how, at least I'm not alone. This one doesn't feel that way. This one feels very isolating.
Very.
It feels like a gut punch. And so I think about that all the time too, because I know so many friends who have who deal with their own sort of ideation. Yeah. And it's just something that I've actually have never admitted this, but I dealt with my moments of ideation as well. Thankfully it's not something I deal with right now.
Okay.
It's not something I've dealt with in a while.
Okay.
But it was really when I was trying to decide if I wanted to come out or not. And it was like it wasn't in the sense that I wanted to be dead. Mm-hmm. It was that I wanted it to stop. I wanted the pain, the feeling, the wanting to escape. I wanted it all to stop.
Stay away.
It was something, it didn't last very long. I'm fortunate of that. I can specifically think of a specific time. And it's actually what I wrote. I'm going to see Beyonce soon. What I'm going to write on my sign, because her song Schooling Life actually saved my life. In one of those sort of darkest moments is the song I was listening to, and I sort of haven't gone back since then. But I think about that because ideation is something that happens throughout the community. And when I talk about ideation, that's the thought of suicide or the thought of wanting to end your life. And it's really hard to admit because my mom asks me all the time. She's just like, recently, I think in my hometown, there was someone who died by suicide, and specifically I think was struggling with issues like that. And my mom called me one day and was really upset and sort of crying and said, thank you for not falling into that despair, right? And feeling, not that there's anything that any of those folks can do because of just the issues, but I think that it's important that we talk about just sort of mental health issues as well. Dealing with that, I never really dealt with any sort of anxiety or depression, so it's not something that stuck around. The ideation never stuck around. It was just in that moment. Now, being comfortable with myself, I'm just like, okay, I can breathe again. But what about you? What are your main issues with mental health that you deal with?
Yeah, and going back to that statistic, that's so like it just leaves me speechless, like almost defeated, like deflated. Like I feel horrible, like almost, like it's just like.
I think the hard part is that stat is from recent.
Exactly,
and so I went through this thing. like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And now we're still dealing with this. There are still kids out there right now dealing with this. And it's just, and another thing too that I wanted to add that, you know, recently we got news that the current administration had removed the suicide hotline. That makes it easier for folks to talk to. During that time when I was going through my hardest moments, actually used a similar hotline, which is the larger. It's the number they made the song about. Remember there was a song that G-Eazy made about like the number. It's called The Number, but anyway, it was that number. So I actually used that number. So the fact that kids these days
don't have that,
and it's specifically the one they took away was specifically for kids, right?
And for LGBTQ youth.
So that's just, it's the fact that I don't get that. What is the point?
I don't either. It's so disheartening, and then like it just makes my mental struggles like it just exacerbates them. Like constantly hearing about these things, especially as it relates to my own community, and it's just like, what the fuck? You know, like I struggle a lot from anxiety. Yeah, a lot. I can say probably on a daily basis. And I also struggle from depression. And so those two, they intertwine quite often, vastly different though. Yeah. Like they're vastly different feelings. I'm very aware of like when I'm feeling one over the other.
When did it start?
I think I've had it for a long time, actually.
You said a long time.
I know. I had to clear my throat.
You've had it for a long time?
I've had it for a long time. And it wasn't anything that I didn't really notice it in the beginning. Yeah. It was once I started to go to therapy and I was like, oh shit, like this is what it is. Like, this is why the depression is a little bit more on the nose as far as like, okay, I'm feeling sad and I'm feeling like
right. It's easier to clock.
Right. And then the anxiety was not necessarily, it was like the constant, like I worry a lot or like, I worry and worrying about every fucking thing essentially, like worrying about like how I'm gonna appear if I walk into someplace, worrying about what I said the other day, and then I'm just like, why am I thinking about this again? Like and like replaying everything and like constantly replaying everything in my head if I think I said something wrong. That is anxiety. And it's like I didn't know what it was for a while. I just thought I was a worry warrior. And then because I know my mom is like that. She still thinks she's just a worry warrior. And I'm like,
I have one of those too. I have one of those too. We'll get to that in the next segment about what that does to kids.
Yeah. But I also want to thank you for also acknowledging the ideation. Cause I will say I have been there. Yeah. And it's almost exactly the same. It's not that like, I don't want to die. Yeah. It's like, I want all this shit that's going on in my head in those moments to like just stop. Like I want it to go away. The more recent times were really, really tough actually.
Recent, like since you've known me?
Recent since I've known you. It was with my dad. Like when my dad passed, that was, as I mentioned, like that was like the absolute hardest time of my fucking life. And like there were moments like I remember specifically I was on the highway and like I just was like so down and depressed, and like the way I started to think about it, and I was like, this is not right. And I talked to my therapist about it and I was able to work through it, but like I just think about like what happens if like I go on an overpass and I just like lose control.
Oh my gosh.
And then like it just stops, right? Like the thinking, being sad stops at that point. That's how it would like manifest in my head. And I'm like, this is not normal. Like I don't want to die, but like I know I needed help. Right. Like, and I was already going to therapy at that time, but I think since my dad has passed, like it's definitely been exacerbated as far as like as far as the depression, as far as my anxiety. But there are remedies, and I know we'll get into that as far as like what we do. Personally, but like it's just it's a lot, and I can't do it on my own. I know that now. Yeah. But it's taken me quite some time to kind of get there.
You know, I think the best part of that is that you don't have to do it alone. It's one of the things that I told you when we first started talking about this, when we started talking about our issues, is just like you don't have resources. You don't have to do this on your own. And I'm not just saying I'm your friend here to support you, but here are the things that we could be doing to sort of help ourselves. But yeah, I think about it a lot because my issues are more. I have ADHD. That's the mental health disorder that shows up the most in my life, right? And I think that I saw a clip recently where they were like, people act like it's like stage 4 cancer, and I understand that it's not. But in that same clip, there's a girl in there that says like, I didn't read a book for 6 years. That was me. And he was like, okay, maybe it is an issue. So for me, like my ADHD, when I was younger, my mom used to say, you're not focused enough. You're not concentrating.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
You're not concentrating. You're not focused. You're procrastinating. My mom, if you ask her to this day, what kind of student was I? She will automatically say he procrastinated everything.
Yeah.
But I was a straight A student. I got a bachelor's degree. I got a master's degree. All on this. So, it was just, but I learned how to function on it. And for me, when people ask, like, I want to put this back on you for a second, but for someone who doesn't have natural occurring anxiety, what does it look like on an everyday? What's the feeling, the bodily feeling of anxiety for you?
It's, oh gosh.
If you can describe it, I just throw questions at you. I'm sorry.
No. It's, the word that I want to use, I don't think it, like, you won't notice it, but like, it is exhausting.
Oh,
like I can show up, I can put a smile on, I can be
You're really good
at it. The moment I'm home, if I lay down on a pillow, I will fall asleep in like a minute probably. Like, I am like exhausted. But I'm trying to think like, what does it feel other than like being like exhausted? It's just kind of like I'm trying to think like of a good analogy. I can't think of one right now, but it's just imagining like worrying about something. I'm trying to think like something. So for example, when you were younger, if you called your parents, right? They were working and you were already at home and they didn't answer. Did you ever think like of the worst possible outcome?
No.
That's what I do. That is,
oh my gosh.
That's that's probably the feeling. It's the constant negative of everything that you do.
Wow.
Or everything. So like,
I've never had anybody explain that to me. That's why I asked that question.
Yeah. That's probably the most like
how it manifests for you.
Yeah. Like that's how the anxiety works in my head of like, if I growing up like this, I would do this all the time. Like I would call my dad and then he wouldn't answer. Granted, my dad was a contractor, right?
Yeah,
so
he was
on the roof. He was
I got shit to do.
Right. He lifting up boards.
I gotta buy you 2 sandwiches.
If y'all don't get that reference, go watch last week's episode. And he did. He was getting that dough so he can make me money to make me the 2 sandwiches just to get yelled at. No, but yes, like I would be calling my dad and he wouldn't answer. And I knew he was at work, right? But like I wanted to talk to him, or I had a question to ask, or like I want to know when he was gonna get home. And like if he didn't answer, I had the worst thought, like something happened to him, something bad happened to him, or like he's gonna be in the hospital, or he died, or that's constant though. So like think of that, like now as an adult.
I just had a realization just now of why it got so much worse when it actually did when your dad actually did pass.
Yeah.
Like it was everything all the anxiety that you had come true.
Yeah.
And sorry, just in the middle of us of us talking about that, I realized that was
thank you.
Because I watched the difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've seen how much you've healed now, and we'll get into that. But I think right now it's just been seeing that, because I always think about that too. For me, like when I think about, sorry, let me wipe my eyes real quick so I don't look like they're like, why is he crying about ADHD? It's not that deep.
It is though.
When I clip these things, they're gonna be like, why is he crying about ADHD? It's not that deep. But for me, I think about it all the time too, because someone always asks me like what it feels like to grow up with ADHD or as an adult. And now I didn't realize it until I did get medicated, that I was like how much I was living in just like a world where I like couldn't do anything. I was almost not fully capable. I think the way that I think about it is like your mind is there and it's still your mind, but you don't have you have like all these cobwebs, and it's like seeing blindly almost, or you have like a fuzz on your eyes. You can't really see. Yes, you can see, you can keep going through life, but there's not a way forward. That's the way that I kind of see it, and the way I've been able to manifest it. But it's not it's debilitating in different ways. Like I always had a messy room, right? When I was younger. I always had a messy room. I'm incredibly impulsive. I will like and that's what it's one of the way it manifests itself. People have different things. Like I think the reason why younger I wasn't diagnosed or my mom didn't push for me, my parents didn't push for me to get checked out for ADHD is because I wasn't necessarily hyper in the sense that like
that's what the stereotype was.
Right. And then growing up, my mom, I don't think my mom would have ever put me on medication because she worked at the school and she would see how the students, when they were growing up, how their personalities would change or they thought their personalities would change. And I'm like, no, they're just like getting help.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's
to be able to function.
To be able to function and be able to do
study,
these things. Yeah. And there's just ADHD affected me in so many ways. I still consider myself a slow reader because of ADHD because I never liked to read. I didn't. Even today, I listen to audiobooks.
I was literally just thinking that.
Yeah.
Because I was like, you do listen to audiobooks.
I can read. I know how to read, but I listen to audiobooks. I listen to audiobooks and I just think about the ways that it's affected my life. And I think if you have kids and you think that they might be, talk to a child psychiatrist and see how they can help you.
Yeah.
And I think it's just, but I'm really glad that we're talking about this today because I think it's helpful that we start having these conversations because I think as we'll go into the next segment, the issue is that we're not having enough of these conversations in our communities.
Yeah, I agree.
We went on too long, right?
No, I think it was okay.
Okay. Sorry.
I think it's because like I stopped, I went over there and like, so there's gonna be a lot of cutting. You okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
What's going on?
None. I just had that realization while we were sitting there.
Yeah.
Like that's why it got so bad for you. And I just like, I felt like a horrible friend for not seeing it.
No. You didn't know. You didn't know.
Oh, I know it's your thing. It's not mine.
It's okay.
I just like was sitting there and I was like, oh my God, you were describing your worst nightmare and then it happened and like, I love you.
Me too. Thank you.
Hey everyone, just a quick reminder, if you're watching, don't forget to like the video. And if you're listening, leaving us a review goes a long way. But honestly, the biggest way you've helped us grow so far is by sharing the show. So if you're loving it, send it to someone that you think would love it too. Now back to the show. Okay, so we're back. I actually wanted to talk more. We talked a little bit about mental health. I had to get myself together. We took a little bit of a break because I was getting a little emotional. And so I needed a moment to kind of, decompress. And I think that's actually really important. If you always need a moment, I always tell you to do this, like take time for moments when you need them.
Yes.
If you're going through something, if you're experiencing something, take time. Take moments. Stop what you're doing and allow if you're able to. I know that
if you're in that position where you can.
Yeah. Some people are busier or have more things to worry about or that they're thinking of. But yeah, take the time. But I think something I really wanted to touch on is just how being Latino affects our mental health and even talking about it, right? Because I remember when I first told my parents, specifically my mom, about my ADHD, the things that I was thinking about, and she was like, "You're just procrastinating. You're just procrastinating. I think you just love to procrastinate." And I'm like, "No, this is an actual thing. ADHD is an actual thing." And then I now when I explain to my mom, thankfully, when I explained to her, she's like, "Oh, that all makes sense." I was like, "Do you remember this? Do you remember this? Do you remember this? Do you remember this?" Like, and now being able to like explain that to her, she gets it. But what did your parents validate your mental health concerns?
What do you think?
Explain to me how to do it.
No. So my dad kind of did. It was kind of more surface level. Like I would explain. Because I didn't start therapy until 2020, actually. Like that was when I first started going to therapy, like actually taking care of myself in the mental health space. And I remember having conversations with both my parents at first, and my dad was like, "Oh, okay. Like I hope you're okay. Like if you need anything, like let me know." That was it.
Yeah.
Like, got it. Type of deal. And my mom, when I told her, she was like, "Oh, what's wrong? What's going on? Why are you going to therapy? Like what's going on?"
Right.
And I think,
what do you have to worry about?
Right. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, mother." Like, coming from the biggest worry warrior there is. Mm-hmm. I'm like,
I have one of those too.
Girl, like, and they swear they're like,
I'm fine. I'm fine.
Bury that. But also like, she'll be like, "Oh, where did you and your brother get your anxiety from?"
Oh no, my mom doesn't say that.
Like,
your mom tells you that? What did she say?
She said, "Where did you and your brother get your anxiety?" I don't know. She'll be like, we'll be talking about therapy, or like I'll be talking about therapy, and she'll literally be like, I don't know why. What is it with you and your brother having this anxiety? Like, I don't know where it came from. Oh. Right. Look around, everybody.
I think anxiety's in the house. The call is coming from inside the house.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And I remember one time we were with one of her really good, close girlfriends. We were in Vegas and we were talking about it. And she also goes to therapy.
Yeah.
And then like she was helping me understand basically that it was her.
Yeah. Like my parents are much better about therapy. They're much better about therapy than they are. My dad has always been good. My dad is a big proponent of mental health in general. I'm blessed, and
I love that.
It's hard because I know that it's because of the things that he went through when he was younger, and I know that's why he gets it.
Right.
And most of my family gets it, but I think like there's still people in my family where I constantly am telling them, look, you need to go to therapy. Yeah. You need to go to therapy. It helps everybody. And I think when I think about therapy, it's always that sort of 8-year-old that we're looking at, right?
Yeah.
There's always, I learned that in therapy very early on that we're stuck in that moment of when something happened to us. And I think like you described specifically about hearing or the body issues happening early on. Mm-hmm. You're sort of like stuck there, right? Yeah. And like for me, it was like when I first realized that I was going to be hated for being gay, those things were going to be realized. And I saw a Mel Robbins clip recently that really transformed me. It was the week before we started filming, remember?
Yeah.
It was the week before we started filming and I called you FaceTime crying my eyes out because I was like, I had this breakthrough that it wasn't that I was worried about being gay that made me so sad when I was a kid. It was the fact that I felt alone.
Yep.
And when I had that realization, I felt like something had clicked in my brain and I was crying from healing. And I remember I FaceTimed you immediately and was like, I can't stop crying. You're like, you freaked out. You were like, what is wrong? And I was like
the night.
It was like
the night. It was nighttime. Yeah.
It was like 10 p.m.
We're going to bed and I'm like, what is happening? What's going on?
Yeah. And it was because I made that realization. That clip gave me the realization that when I was younger, I don't have so much bad feelings about being gay and bad memories of those when I was younger because I was actually gay. It was because I felt so alone in being gay. And that's just, it's something I think about often to just kind of give myself to ground myself and really think about it. But yeah, when I think about just mental health issues in general though, like I remember my mom was like, you just need to pray about it. You just need to pray about it and it'll go away. Stop thinking about it. Stay busy. Stay busy. You just need to like get yourself preoccupied. And,
go outside and play.
There is a difference. There's a difference between doing things to compartmentalize and actually avoiding. And I think what Latinos do is a lot of avoiding. We're trained to do that. We're trained to avoid it. Yes. We're trained to leave the house and not worry about it. Don't talk about these things.
Yes.
That's actually why we're doing this show.
Right.
Is to bust. We're doing the opposite.
Yes.
We're busting through everything. Sorry, I got really excited.
No, it's okay. I'm about to bust.
That's
R.I.P. Leslie Jordan. That was a reference to Leslie Jordan.
What's wrong with you? Oh my gosh.
I don't know why that came to my mind.
Anyway.
That's so funny.
Were you ever told to just pray about it?
So I remember being told that, but I can't remember who told me. I want to say it was probably my aunt that's very religious. But I can't remember why. I remember having a conversation with her. It was in college. And I literally to this right now, I can't remember why she told me that. But I remember being told that and I was like, I don't think that's the answer, sis. Like, that's really not what I need to do because it's going to be there after I pray. I'm going to take 5 seconds, pray about it. And then the next day and a half, I'm going to think about it.
Right.
Like it didn't work.
Right. And I think that it's not that those things having a faith-based treatment plan is not helpful, but it's not, you shouldn't be using it as a mask to the real issues at hand. And I think I'm surrounded, like even growing up, when I think about it, I'm like, I'm surrounded by people who had mental health concerns or their mental health was suffering at that time. Yeah. And just didn't do anything about it. And that just like, I have a lot of family members that talk about generational curses. The best way we can break these generational curses is by going to therapy and address them. We're sitting, I think a lot of times Latinos sit in a room with elephants everywhere.
Right.
There are elephants the size of, elephants, but there are elephants in the room everywhere.
Yeah.
There are elephants and no one is addressing the elephant in the room. And I'm like,
they're going to let it be.
What? We're just going to let it be. If you don't talk about it, it's not going to be an issue anymore. No, it's going to come back. It's going to come back with a vengeance.
Yep.
And it's going to come back when you least expect it and when you least want it to.
Right.
It's going to come back. And that's what I've learned about everything. I tell my mom this, I tell my dad this, I tell my siblings. You can keep trying to hide those issues that you're going through. You can keep trying to avoid them, but they're going to come back. Yeah. They're going to come back and it's going to manifest that way. So it's better to do it at your pace. For me, you and I are control freaks, right? Like we want to have control. We want to have control of it. The best way you can control it is by getting help sort of early. So that's just what I tell people to make sure that they're doing that. All right, we're back. I wanted to transition by talking about the difference between surviving and actually living, because I think about my time from before I started treating my ADHD and after as like surviving and then actually living.
Yeah.
Because I think I've transformed, my life has transformed. Even when I got treatment, I started getting treatment for my ADHD in 2017, but didn't find the right combination, because you have to find a combination that works for you, a medication that works for you.
Right.
And I didn't really start to feel that way until like the last couple of years. So I think like that's when I've really been able to see the difference in my life and seeing how different my life has been.
Yeah.
Of seeing the difference between like just surviving and getting to the next day and then actually living and reaching your full potential. Do you notice the same thing?
Yeah. Honestly, there are days where I survive and then there are days where I live.
Yeah. It's not consistent.
To this day. And
but are you living a lot more now?
I am.
Yeah.
I will say. And also thank you, because you are actually the one that helped me kind of get through the stereotypes that I even personally put on.
Oh, because medication. I would call you out. Yeah. I realized what you were doing, and I'm like, no, you're not gonna be my mother in here. Or mine. You're not gonna deal with anxiety for 70 years and think that it's okay. No, absolutely not.
Yeah, no. And being, now that I'm on it, I've been on it only maybe like a year, and literally every 3 months it will like shift. Because I'm like, I don't know if it's working, or like, maybe it's not, but maybe we need to go a little bit higher on one of the doses. Because I take two separate medicines. Yeah, and we're constantly working on the dosage. Yeah, and I'll talk to my psychiatrist and I'll be like, look, this is happening. For example, with the show, I was nervous. I was like nervous at the beginning. I'm constantly thinking about like, whatever I said, did I say it right? Did I say it in a way that's going to be impactful? Did I say it that's going to piss off somebody? Like, I know we love to have fun, and we're constantly bantering with one another, but like, I also like, we're so passionate about this project for us. And like, we both wanted it to be like fantastic. And I think like when I went to my psychiatrist afterwards, I was like, we got to up it. we got to up this.
You know, what's interesting though?
I needed to be okay.
If you and I didn't get treatment, we wouldn't be doing this show.
I don't think so either.
We wouldn't.
I don't think I could. I don't think I would be able to function.
I don't think I'd be able to plan. Yeah. I don't think I'd be able to get it all together. I don't think I'd be able to stay all focused, because it's a full-time job what we're doing right now. What y'all are seeing. Constant. We are writing, producing everything ourselves. Yep. This is just us, and so we wouldn't be able to do this. So thank God for healing, so that we could actually do this show, because we wouldn't be able to do it if not. So I use a combination of therapy and medication, and everybody has a different way of dealing with theirs. Talk to a doctor, talk to your doctors, and see what they think is best, and work with whatever your life is and what lifestyle you're working with to figure out if it works best for you. I mean lifestyle and actually the definition of the word, not the gay lifestyle.
Oh my God, you're gay.
Oh my gosh. We've had a lot of people tell us lately that we have a gay lifestyle. And I'm like, a lifestyle? I was like, going to the gym and like, that's a lifestyle. Yeah. Like,
and I know they never mean it
they don't mean it that way,
in a negative way, but it's so funny because it's like,
it's not a lifestyle. It's not a lifestyle. But it's a mood, if you will. But yeah, so I think that one of the things that I was really excited to talk about this episode is just the healing that we've gone through, and just in general, because I remember even now with my parents, I talk a little bit about my parents, how they handled it. Even now, they both understand my ADHD. They also understand, or at least they try to understand, right? They're trying to learn more.
And we will absolutely.
And they see me the difference when I'm medicated and when I'm not. And so they're like, oh, my parents stayed with me, remember recently?
Yeah.
And I would be like, give me like 30 minutes. I'm like sitting on the couch doing nothing. I'm like doom scrolling. And well, because ADHD is not like, a lot of people like to label it and put people in a box.
Yeah.
But it's different for everybody. And the way that it manifests for me is not necessarily that I can't do anything. I just can't do anything that I need to do that doesn't excite me, if that makes sense. So to give you an example, if I need to get up and do the dishes, that doesn't excite me.
Right. So you don't do it.
But the fact that I need to get up and do it, if I'm not medicated, I'm just like, I'll sit on the couch and doom scroll all day and my mom and dad saw me. They saw me like the difference between when I was medicated and not. And they're like, oh, this might be real.
Oh. ADHD exists.
ADHD is a thing, but yeah, I think people, and I think ADHD gets a bad rap too because people throw it around like it's nothing. Like people are like, oh, my ADD is messing with me, and but they don't really understand. Like I'm like, were you actually diagnosed? Not that you need to be diagnosed to be experiencing these things.
True,
because not everybody has the access that we have.
Yep.
And but I think that we throw these things around like it's nothing. But yeah, I'm like, and then I'm falling back into it with we're promoting a lot on social media, right?
Yeah.
And it's like you have to be in 15 seconds. You have to be exciting, and you have to just keep feeding people's. So anyway, I'm just glad we had this conversation and why we did this because it's about healing.
It is, and for everyone listening, like if you, speaking from my personal experiences, like having those, like I don't think we can stress enough, like having these conversations with your friends and with your family and whomever, like, is so important. Like I would not be on my healing journey and the success I've gotten to my healing journey. Like I've been in therapy for a while. That was definitely part of my healing journey. And then because of Kendrick, I'm also medicated now, and it's helped.
Not me getting you medicated. I work for pharma. I got you.
Big Pharma.
Big Pharma sponsoring this.
Where's
this
our
show?
money?
Brought to you by Pfizer.
But no, really, like having these conversations really helps to break those glass ceilings. Of like, I was one of those. Like I was the one that was like, I'm so nervous to start medicine. Like I think also
not
because
nervous, but you were almost like violent about it. You were almost like, I don't need it.
I think because in my head, and this goes back to like how it was, of course, everything goes back to how we were raised, but like I was so set in stone of like, if I have to rely on that, I have failed myself.
And that means I'm crazy. It means I'm crazy. You know how many Latinos say that? How many Latinos are like, if you're on medication,
you're crazy.
You're crazy.
Right.
Because you can't handle it on your own. You're weak. You can't handle it on your own.
Exactly.
These are
all of those.
These are all generational curses and lies.
Literally.
They're lies to keep us there and like not keep us in a box. But no, we are not. We're constantly having to survive, right? That's the difference between surviving and actually living. And you don't have to just survive.
Yeah.
And I understand that not everybody has access.
Correct.
That's another problem we have in this country is not everybody has access to quality healthcare, mental health care, and therapy in general.
Right.
And so I think that's something that, and you see it in our community all the time too. But if you do have access and your only barrier is your feeling and the way that you're feeling about it, do something about it and try to talk to somebody about it. I think us talking about it a lot, we talk about our mental health issues a lot. And I think for me, even ADHD is weird because I talk to you about all the time about there's shortages.
All the time.
There's shortages on my specific medication or a lot of medicines, right? So I'll sit here for like a week and be like, I don't know what I'm doing in my life. Like, and I'll have this whole moment. I talked to you about that.
I know, but like, it's just like being like,
and sometimes like for me in my specific situation, I have controlled substances. So I can't, when my doctor submits it, she can only do one prescription at 30 days at a time. Yeah. And so every 30 days I have to remember, they have to get someone with ADHD to remember to, say it on the 30 days. But during that time there can be gaps. So I probably the last 4 or 5 times I've gotten my medicine, it's taken about a week for them to get it back in stock. And when you send a controlled substance to pharmacies, you can't just say, "Oh, you don't have it at this one. Let's send it to another one." The doctor has to do that because it's a controlled substance. They have to be the one that moves the prescription from one to the other.
Oh,
You can't-
usually pharmacies can just send it, right?
Usually, if you get like an antibiotic and they don't have it somewhere,
Oh, yes,
you can
yes.
say, can you just go send that to the other one who
Right.
does have it? We can go
Yep.
get it. You can't
Yep.
do that with controlled substances.
Oh, like the doctor has to actually do
The doctor has to do
more
it.
barriers.
More barriers that they're putting in front of us.
Damn.
And so, yeah, but anyway, I'm glad we had this conversation
Yes.
and glad we're doing it. But do you want
That's
to roll into Don't Piss Me
Yeah,
Off? And again,
let's do
I know there's
it.
probably a lot of things about mental health that we didn't touch on today.
This was very surface level.
But that's the point. We're telling you the things that make us who we are and the things that we think can help people, and we're transitioning from there. Does that work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
we're going into Don't Piss Me Off.
you first or me?
I don't know why I did that, but I'll go first.
Okay.
Because I think you went first last time.
Okay.
If not, I want to go first.
Okay. You do what you want.
Don't piss me off. I think for me, whenever I'm expressing like my own mental health and my own journey, or like I'm having a bad day, or like mentally, like when someone this has happened actually, someone told me this recently, when they're like, oh, well, other people have it worse. And I'm like, all right, well, fuck my drag. Like, okay, let me go.
Dang. Other people have it worse. Oh yeah, and that happens a lot,
right?
And they'll say things like, well, it could always be worse.
Exactly. There are people what did Courtney tell Kim? Kim,
people are dying.
I'm like, oh my God, let her have a moment.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, for real, like, it irks the shit out of me. Like,
yeah, because they're trying to invalidate you.
They're invalidating me. Mm-hmm. They're comparing me to somebody else that I have no idea who is.
Belittling me, like, and
I don't matter.
You know what bad looks like. You know things can be worse.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean that you should be allowed to. That you should have to be forced to suffer. Not me taking over your Don't Piss Me Off. It pissed me off too. That's why. Yeah, it pissed me off too.
Exactly. But that's definitely my Don't Piss Me Off.
I think for me, Don't Piss Me Off. If I'm telling you about something that's happening with me, specifically my ADHD, don't respond with, but you're so high functioning. You get so much done.
You're so successful.
You're so great at what you do. Yeah, but I'm like in hell. It's living in hell. My brain is not functioning correctly.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's these things
literally
that we're dealing with. And my brain just doesn't feel like it's on 100%, but that happens all the time. Oh, I could never tell. I could never tell you had anxiety, Jake. Well, I could, but like everybody else.
I can see you shaking over there in the corner.
I can see you having a breakdown. But no, I'm glad we had these conversations today. And
Me too.
you know, everybody else, we like I said before, we'll touch on things that are heavier than others. But if you know somebody who's dealing with similar issues, just have them talk about it. Recommend the show. I think would be really important too.
Yeah, recommend the show.
We put this in some of our other clips, but I think it's important that we do it on screen too.
Yeah.
To just let people know.
Yes.
Make sure you're subscribing.
Yeah.
If you're watching us on YouTube right now, make sure that you push the subscribe button, hit the like button. If you're listening to us only, make sure that you're leaving a review. Make sure that you're liking it. And the reason why we have everybody do that is because it actually makes sure that this gets spread out to a lot more people. And we're actually reaching a good, our core is good and healthy and reliable. And that's what we want. We want to build this strong, but steady and not, sort of all at once, but great so that we can build our audience.
Yeah. And also, I will say,
we just plug in.
Well, this is not even for us, but like for anybody listening, if they do need help, specifically speaking about the phone line that they took away, the new administration. But like now Canada has one for us, like that we can call.
That's crazy. Like, well, I think the other, I did not say that's crazy. Anyway, that's wild that we have to resort to that.
A different country.
But what I was going to say is I think the normal hotline is still available. So what we can do is we can put the hotline on the lower thirds so you can send it to other people.
We'll add some resources also on the bottom.
Yeah.
I think that'll be fun.
Well, we'll see you next time.
Great.
I don't know what we're talking about next time, but we're going to
work it out.
Yeah, we'll see you next time, and thank you as always for joining us.
Thank you. Have a good week.
That's it for this week. Next week, we're talking all about love, all the messy, beautiful, and complicated parts of it. See you then.